Hello, and welcome to A Star to Steer Her By, episode 41.
Woo! Extra woo, because this is a special one.
Yes, today we are looking at Turnabout Intruder, and, well, that's it. We are out of the original series
Don't
after
throw
today.
my card around.
Yes, it was supposed to be a flourish, but I realized no one can see it but us. So
It wasn't even
pointless.
that. It wasn't even
I
that
fucked
good
up
of a
the throw,
flourish.
but I was gonna let the radio people think I'd done good.
Your
You ruined
flourish
everything.
is bad and you should feel bad.
I do, Dr. Zoidberg. I do. So yes, we are just discussing Turnabout Intruder, after which we are going to do a bit of a final thoughts on the original series.
Wrapping it
You know,
up.
when someone breaks into my house, I say, "Turnabout, intruder."
And then they rob us blind.
And probably kill Jake for that horrible joke.
And say, Jake will not be appearing on the podcast after this episode, because he fired.
Or because Ames or an intruder have killed him.
Both.
A turnabout intruder.
Oh, God, again.
Turnabout is fair play, intruder.
Alright, I'm going to start this summary and try to make it fast. The Enterprise is called to Camus, too?
Camus.
Wait a minute, I want to time this.
Because it should be Camus, but anyway. They're
Alright.
called to a planet because there's a scientific expedition there and everybody's dying. By the time they get there, the only ones left alive are Dr. Janice Lester, an old flame of Captain Kirk's, and... what the hell's the
Dr.
other?
Coleman.
Dr. Coleman.
And there was a third guy, but he died like
Off
the
screen,
second they got
yeah.
there.
Oh, I didn't
And-
even...
Yeah, I forgot
Yeah,
about that.
it's why McCoy and Spock are
Leave the
led,
room. Yeah.
leave the room with Coleman.
Coleman, the worst doctor in Starfleet. So bad he was drummed out, apparently, by the Surgeon General. So, left alone with Lester, as has been mentioned already, we find that, yes, Janice is an old flame, but unlike all the 3 years, 12 months, and an odd number of days types, she wants his ass dead. She hates him so much. Turns out she's feigning being slightly iller than she is, because as Kirk goes to investigate a weird-looking what's-it around the other side of the room, she shoots him with some kind of hoodly-doo, and it is revealed that the what's-it is a mind switcher.
Both hoodly-doos and
Freaky
what's-its.
Friday!
I said
Exactly. And so Kirk winds up in Lester's body, Lester in Kirk's, and then Lester goes to strangle Kirk to death, but
Misses.
everyone else returns before she can finish, and that combined with something has Kirk like half unconscious and moaning and blah blah blah.
They have radiation sickness, is what the
Right, it was vague
planet
if she was actually suffering from it, though.
No, I think she
No,
did,
they-
because McCoy was picking up like a light
That's right,
radiation
an amount,
something.
yeah. He just wasn't sure what kind.
Do you think when she went to strangle Kirk, did she get her first rage boner?
Yes.
Great.
Yes, goes
I
outside.
just wanted to clarify.
Seeing her looking entirely unwell, Lester as Kirk, needing to look like, she cares, has her beamed back to the Enterprise with the rest of the crew, and she's put under observation. Lester soon orders that Dr. Coleman will oversee all of her treatment instead of McCoy, because he supposedly, because he always has all this extra experience and blah, blah, blah.
McCoy is pissed.
He is very cross. We will find later, because as I mentioned, Coleman used to be a CMO, like McCoy, but was so shitty at his job, Starfleet kicked him out.
Incompetent.
Super incompetent.
Administratively and...
medically.
Incontinent as well around patients, which is unsanitary.
had himself a warp core breach today.
That's a callback to a conversation you listeners haven't heard.
Let's just say he ejected the pod.
He jettisoned that shit.
You can use context clues here to figure out what we're talking about.
Diarrhea.
Anyway,
The password is...
Kirk eventually comes to, realizes what's going on, and basically eventually schemes to slip out of sickbay to get to Spock and McCoy to get the help he needs. He ultimately manages to convince Spock that it's him, because basically after beating around the bush, he's like, wait a minute, just mind meld me. And Spock's like, oh, fuck, it is you, Jim.
Beating around the bush. That's sexist.
This whole episode was a bit sexist, Caitlin.
That's true, I know. Thank you.
So, Lester...
I bet you Kirk, while having the woman in his body, was beating around the bush. If you know what I mean.
Yeah, that was the first thing that happened when he woke up. And then he called for McCoy. Because what woman wouldn't?
Oh. Oh, fuck. Well, this has gone a place.
So, Lester, desperately trying to retain control of the Enterprise, eventually decides to accuse Spock of fomenting mutiny. And a whole court-martial thing happens, and Lester just breaks down very publicly in front of everyone. And, Bones and Scotty are like, okay, yeah, it's time to mutiny. But of course, they're being recorded, and then Chekhov and Sulu are kind of like, they have misgivings, but they go back to the bridge anyway. But then almost immediately, you're like, no, we're not going to follow your orders. And Uhura doesn't do anything because she's not in this episode. And was replaced by, actually, the woman whose husband died that time. And then she was in shore leave and ran into a tree.
Oh, was that her?
Yeah.
Was it the same character?
I don't think
No, different
so.
hair for sure.
Yeah.
I think they named her and it wasn't the same.
Yeah. Well, in the credits, she's just communications officer.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't think they ever named her. They called her lieutenant at one point,
I
but I don't
named
think
her when she was the stenographer in the trial.
Maybe.
But maybe I'm
But
maybe
if
you're
they
right.
did, the closing credits missed it too.
She's probably feeling so good. She's like, "Oh man, I guested on the show, and now they're gonna bring me in as a regular. This is great. I'll be in all of season 4." Oh.
So eventually, Kirk, Spock, McCoy, and Scotty are confined to the brig, and Lester comes up with this whole plan to kill him, in conjunction with Coleman, who is in on it, I forgot to mention. But he disappears for half the episode, so it's easy to kind of forget he's there at all.
And then when he is, he's just such a wet blanket.
Yeah, and Spock realizes he can use Vulcan magic powers to try to put them back together, but then at the end of the day, it just takes making her overexert herself in Kirk's body.
I feel like
They
it just
touched each
happened on
other.
its own.
They
Something.
touched each
Is
other,
that what-
didn't
yeah.
they? I was wondering if that
Anyway,
was what it was.
they
touched dicks.
swap back, everyone's happy, warp factor fun.
Everybody's happy except for Janice, who is literally insane.
Yeah.
So
Janice,
insane.
wish
Like
you got
like
it.
all women who have any ambition.
Yeah. And that's the final episode.
I want to be captain.
TOS.
Oh,
Yes,
I know that
yes,
was the ending was so silly when she's like cuddling into Coleman and she's so sad and he's like, "That's okay, I'll take care of you." And she's like, "I'm so mad.
I was like live.
Shut up, you dumb bitch.
I want him dead so much."
I live streamed my viewing of this episode to Chris because I was watching it at work on lunch.
Oh my god!
And I was just like, Coleman, says to them, "I want to take care of her," and they're like, "Sure." And so I said to Chris, "I'm like, I want to take care of them. What are they gonna just throw her out an airlock?
Well, I mean,
what the fuck is
unless
gonna happen
she
here?"
violated General Order 4, which presumably has to be going to
Talos
4.
that
whatever.
was General Order 2, I think.
Well, maybe they
was
rearranged.
the wrong number.
Maybe they rearranged the General Orders.
Maybe they
at some
decided
point.
it's okay to go to Talos now, but they found a different, worse thing to give
Yeah.
the death penalty to.
Yeah, going to...
Violating the Prime Directive as much as Jim Kirk has done. That is worth death. They will kill you for that.
So yeah, last episode of the series.
So I
Ending
got...
on a good note, or what do you guys think?
right off the bat, gotta say this, gotta get it out of there. What the actual pissing fuck was up with Christine's hair?
It was brown.
It was
brown
brown,
hair.
which looked wrong. And
I
then
thought brown looked good on
It
She
did
her.
looked
look wrong.
nice, it just wasn't right.
it wasn't right. But also, for most of the show, it was like big and puffy and very 60s.
Yeah.
But then during the court-martial, it was
It
like
was
wicked
weird.
flat. Like
She
she
didn't even look like herself.
Yeah, like she'd just gotten out of the shower and didn't have enough time to blow dry, so she just kind of toweled and was like, fuck, that'll have to do, I'm gonna be late.
I mean, I assume they had hair and makeup.
Yeah, I know, I'm just being a wise ass.
I didn't mind the style, actually. I liked the style. I just thought the color was a little... I was like, why are
It was
you a
just very
brunette
weird.
all of a sudden?
And I mean,
Probably,
I've seen...
got an audition on another show.
Yeah.
Probably.
Maybe
And
she
they were
was-
already canceled, I think. So.
I mean, yeah, in reality, it doesn't look bad. I mean, she looked fine as a brunette when she was number 1, and she's a brunette when she's Lana Troy. I don't know how to pronounce her
She has
name.
more, she has
The
black
Waxana.
hair as the Waxana.
To seriously answer your question,
Yes.
the merits of the episode aside, I was saying to Caitlin, what's interesting about it is even if it wasn't necessarily planned as a series finale, it works well as one, if only because it's one of the few episodes where you have very specific mention of previous events.
That's
Yeah, I
true.
like that.
When Kirk is trying to prove it's him, it's like, okay, Spock, remember that time? And that time?
Well, you
and
could have
that
just looked
time?"
up records.
Yeah, because
In
apparently...
which case, just tell Spock what you know his dick looks like.
Yeah,
Done.
exactly.
Are those in records? Probably not, because Vulcans are really secretive about this shit.
True. But the fact that it's that, and then the whole plot sort of revolves around everyone just kind of going, I know the captain. This isn't the captain. And the crew sort of coming together to agree to... even though they believe it's Kirk, they know that Starfleet may never quite buy it, and they may all get charged with mutiny for this.
Mm-hmm.
Not if they kill him.
But they're doing it anyway, and I feel like that is a good sort of sending off.
I actually... So I had a mixed reaction to this episode. There were things that I liked, and there were things I didn't like. overall, it's really middle of the road for me. But I will agree that the callbacks to previous events was a positive. I also liked that the episode it kept a really strong internal logic throughout.
That's true.
And there were things that happened in the episode that really took me by surprise, like when it turned out that fake Kirk was recording the conversation that Bones and Scotty were having.
Yeah,
in the
I
hall.
wouldn't feel safe having conversations anywhere in the ship. So they tape the conversation in the corridor, and then immediately after, Sulu and Chekhov go to the bridge and start having the same "should we mutiny" conversation. I'm like, guys, you know they tape in the corridor.
What did they just do?
Certainly tape on the bridge.
Yeah. But I mean, really, this episode really, to me, it falls apart at the end. The end's just
Yeah, the end's
no
a little
good
weird.
to me.
I kind of wonder what if anything. Like, I'd like to think they'd have given had Uhura been there, she'd have had a bit more to do as well. She would have had her, sort of coming round moment. But since it was this random lady,
You know
it's
who
kinda
else
like,
was coming round?
Oh dear.
Kirk, when he was in the body of that lady.
Speaking, this is where I didn't care for the episode a terrible lot, was we don't see a lot of Kirk whilst in Lester's body. And
Yeah, that's true.
I think it's because the actress wasn't acting very Kirky.
No. I gotta give Shatner a shout out. I gotta
I gotta give
Wait a minute.
Shitner a shootout? What the fuck?
I gotta shout out something big here.
War corporation.
His okay. I'm imagining this is. I'm gonna be Shatner for a minute.
Wow.
Preparing for this episode, he's like,
Do you think he tucked?
how do women act?
And how do
Well,
women
they
try to
kind of
act
act.
like
Well,
me?
they're women. Well, I'm a man. I can't really play a woman, but I can play the next closest thing, a homo.
Jesus Christ! I knew that was where you were going. At the
But did
very
you
end, I
notice,
was
like,
with you.
Did you notice he was doing like really kind of like effeminate walk?
Yeah, no, it did seem like he was
very-
doing a 1960s camp homosexual.
And
it was
like when he
ooh.
sat in the captain's chair and he had like his like knees apart, like or together, he was very.
Dainty.
Very
And then
dainty.
he was like doing his nails at one point.
Yeah!
I actually like that.
No one
I
thought that
was
was
good.
weird.
I
Like,
thought that was
when
cool.
has
I
Kirk
like
ever
that.
done his nails? Oh, the reason why you made me think that, though, is when he goes to Coleman and he's like, "You've done everything else for me, Coleman. Do this one more thing." And I was like, oh,
Nah.
damn. I was into it. I was like, get it.
No,
girl.
but I
You know what that-
I do have to give Shatner credit though, because although at the start of the episode, for the first bit of the episode, I was like, oh, he's really laying it on thick with being effeminate for the sake of his character. But I feel like throughout the episode, he was able to portray the as the lady got more accustomed to being in Kirk's body.
Yeah, it's like layers.
Yeah.
Layers of characters.
Like he started to get a lot better, and there was a distinct progression from
Until she snaps a little bit.
And then she, like, it's one of those things, the minute the dam started to break, it just went to shit.
Yeah, she just threw a temper tantrum in Kirk's body, which was when we know Shatner does great temper tantrums.
He does.
It was really good.
Yeah, no, he hammed it up all the way in this one.
yeah.
And that was, even if they didn't quite make sense, when Shatner throws a tantrum, it's a thing of beauty.
I actually really I enjoyed watching him, like, lose it. I was just
Yeah.
like, this is great.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
the
like-
screaming match was good, but the transition was really dumb when he was transitioning back to Kirk, and
When he's on the bridge,
like
he makes
the
that
weird,
face.
like, he looked like a fucking mime. He looked like a mime, right? I was messaging Chris because he did. He like had his hands like around his face, and he was kind of like making like a.
Well,
Like a
trapped in a box.
He's like, oh no, I'm in the box. Yeah.
Well, that's right.
It
That
was
that
so
one,
good.
the hands by the face. That's when you see a lot in like bad memes, and it was like I didn't realize I hadn't seen it yet in our view. It's like, oh, there's that thing I see on the internet all the time.
I don't think I've ever seen it as a meme.
Yeah.
Where have I been? Is this on like XY chromosome internet or what?
No, I think it's just because like there was that time I was specifically looking for Star Trek memes for like
Manternet.
the Facebook
So
or something.
Reddit.
Mm.
And
Yes.
yeah, Dr. Coleman. What the fuck with that guy?
He was just there.
What?
He was just there, then the script forgot he was there, and then apparently, like, somehow, just because Kirk gave him access to Lester, or Lester, you know what I mean, he also then just got to dick around in this big lab set that I'm sure they were really looking forward to using more in Season 4. Oops.
Aw.
I did also like. No, I didn't like.
Oh.
This is something
That's
like.
the opposite,
yes,
Jake.
Yes. These are different thoughts. That the characters, Dr. Lester and Dr. Coleman, the character names were fucking me up. Because I didn't know the characters enough. I don't know. I didn't know who was who. Like, I still don't know. Who was Lester? The girl?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Janice.
So, you have boy doctor, girl doctor. They should have just called them that.
Go check in with boy doctor.
Dr. Vagina to the brig, please.
Yikes.
But yeah, no, I wish they had just consistently called her by her first name. Or call.
I feel like they did call her Janice more often than not, but yeah, I can see where you're
I was
coming
just
from.
confused the whole time.
I actually am interested, like, because there was obviously like a romantic thing, right, between Janice and Dr.
Oh,
Coleman.
yeah.
So
Between
was
her
he
and
like
Coleman, okay.
well, right? I mean, don't you think?
Yeah, I was thinking between her and Kirk and how it must have gone terribly, terribly wrong. But go on.
I'm just like curious. So I worked on a show once where there was this line, and it was like, you know, in the future, everyone's just kind of casually bisexual, and we think that's nice. So it's the 23rd century or whatever, right? And Coleman has been in love with this Janice Lester, but now Janice Lester has taken up residence in Captain Kirk's body. Is this a case of Coleman's love is so overshadowing everything that he's completely selfless and doesn't mind like letting go of the woman he loves? Or like, do we think they're gonna stick together? Do you think their relationship could stand the test of time if things had turned out differently?
I mean, she's
You
crazy.
mean the test of her being Kirk?
Yeah. I mean, is there anyone who can resist the charms of James T. Kirk? Aside from Spock, apparently.
The thing is, that isn't James Kirk. That's just his body. And the woman is problematic because she's just insane to begin with.
And she was like, see, maybe he had a thing for her, but I feel like
No cats.
she was manipulating the shit out of Coleman.
Oh, that's
Oh,
almost certainly
yeah.
true.
She needs something from him. I don't think she would have given two shits about him once their plan was completed.
No, she'd have shot him on an
I
arrow.
was gonna say, think he's gonna get jettisoned?
I mean, he would be
Oh,
if her
cats.
plan had worked, he would have been the only person
that
Who
knew.
would
knew?
know who knew.
He was
So
totally going on an airlock.
Yeah, no, he was getting stuffed into a torpedo and shot into space.
And I mean, I feel like she really only needed him around until Kirk was killed.
I will say, like, it's a shame in a way, because the idea is fascinating of her sort of motivation being someone who has seen, like, her potential squandered by the virtue of her gender.
Yeah, I was confused. So, in Starfleet, they don't let women be captains?
Not at that point, apparently.
That's bizarre. That seems like counterintuitive to their whole fucking
Apparently,
structure.
the Romulans are more progressive.
I mean, the 60s... I mean, we've talked about before how, like, for all the show wanted to be kind of aggressive, it was still really sexist.
Although I would like to point out, cannon alert, people! Cannon alert! Raise the cannon alarm! We have an incoming cannon alert. In the upcoming Star Trek Discovery series, there is a woman captain, and this is taking place supposedly 10 years before original series.
I can do you one better.
Yes.
In the already existing Star Trek Enterprise, Captain of the USS Columbia NX-02 is a woman.
Well, there you go. So they're cannon.
I betcha Janice Lester is just so sucky at her job that they just made up. Like,
That's probably what happened.
You can't
it's
be
just
captain
like fucking
because of women.
Finney.
Yeah, she probably finnied. She probably flunked her way out of captain school and was like,
Why can't I
made
be
up
a
this whole
captain?
thing
Shouldn't
that
adjust one fucking nozzle and it was all over.
But yes, I mean, in reality, though, if we just take it as it was actually intended, which is just 60s sexist, that's a really good motivation for an antagonist and a sympathetic motivation. You know, one of like... Because you feel like if she wasn't so nuts and could have kept up the Kirk persona,
Yeah.
she probably actually would have been fairly able.
I mean, I wonder what this episode would have been like if she wasn't crazy and if people just caught on just because she didn't do things the correct
little
way.
things were wrong.
Yeah,
Well,
instead of
I certainly
being
thought
nuts.
like
that
always
was what
being
it was
like,
going
this
to
is
be.
Captain Kirk here.
Yeah.
Captain
Right,
Kirk here.
exactly
Captain Kirk
that.
to Enterprise.
And there
Hello, Mr. Montgomery.
And calling Bones Dr. McCoy.
Yeah.
Like he never calls him Dr. McCoy. He calls him McCoy. But when they were speaking, he never would have said Dr. McCoy.
Yeah, that's a good point.
You know what I mean? So, I thought it was going to be like subtler things as well, like that.
Yeah, but then they realized, it's...
But it didn't
TV.
matter because even when she was behaving, and I'm using she to refer to the woman in Kirk, she was behaving so, not just un-Kirk-like, but...
Uncaptain-like,
uncivilized, just acting like a total maniac.
She seemed...
And the thing is, she could have been acting anyway. She could have stripped down to her skivvies and done the windmill, and
she's got one now.
You would still have McCoy being like, well, this charge checked out. It's definitely the captain.
Well, it's not really.
He did the wall stairs.
It's not that unusual, for Kirk to windmill his dick
true.
around the bridge. I'm sure.
What is disconcerting, though, is that apparently, every security officer on the Enterprise just gladly, mindlessly follows Kirk's orders. Suddenly the rise of the mirror universe doesn't seem so unusual.
Because they're all going to die, they know.
Yeah.
I wish Eddie Pesky had still been around. It would be interesting to see Leslie do something in this one.
Yeah.
He actually somehow saves the day.
What's also interesting, so we do the full checkup on Kirk because McCoy has doubts on what's going on with Kirk.
Yep.
He does the whole checkup on him, and then he does that weird emotional light show.
So,
Yeah.
I watched...
Are you going to make a nerd voice?
No. I watched this on the DVD set I have, and the episode had optional pop-up text commentary from the Okudas. And,
The Yakuza?
the Okudas. Denise and Michael, they worked on... Did they start with TNG, Jake? Or
I think they did work on the movies,
Okay.
but I'm not positive.
But they're generally regarded as authorities on Star Trek. And they mentioned that apparently they didn't get into strong detail, but that test that McCoy did was actually based on a since laughed off the face of the stage theory that the human skin could sense color. So this was based on a real thing. It wasn't just...
How does that connect to your emotional state of being?
They didn't connect. They didn't get into the full details.
So it's only right because in the pilot we had the ESP tests.
Yeah.
And we've come full circle. Now we have skin emotion tests.
Yeah.
And the even weirder thing is that so she passes the test and somehow has the same readings that Kirk had.
Yeah.
Even though I get the body is the same body and would still work the same way Kirk's body would, but
She's got to at least have stress.
Well,
here's the
something,
thing,
right?
Something
like Chris
different.
just said, it's total pseudoscience.
Well-
so it didn't work.
in that case, McCoy just ask him fucking questions.
Yeah.
And
Well, it
By the
was funny-
23rd century, they figured out a way to make it work, Jake.
He got that thing off of Amazon, and he damn well he's going to use it.
It was funny. The pop-up commentary even suggested things like, "What about this or that, or maybe that psycho tricorder?" Anyone remember that?
oh, that thing.
Like
That
even
thing that McCoy used that one time when he just happened to be the ship's psychiatrist also?
also the
Never
light
again?
panel, or no, the control panel for the light machine was the drinks dispenser from Trouble with Tribbles.
Very nice.
We also don't use that fucking lie detector thing anymore.
No.
That would have been useful in every
Very.
single episode.
Yeah.
You know
Or
what?
the heartbeat microphone.
Yeah.
We use that all the time.
You know what part of that scene I thought you were going to like, Ames?
What?
When McCoy's like, "Don't put your shirt back on yet, Jim." I
Oh,
was
this is
like,
going places.
holy shit.
I think I elbowed Jake in the ribs like, what's gonna happen?
No.
Butt sex.
But yeah, that's also that little pop-up commentary was also how I knew that the communications officer was the woman from Shore Leave and the other
I was
episode.
gonna say, I would never have recognized.
Yeah, I did.
Martine, right?
Oh,
Yeah,
Martine.
that was her name.
That's
Yeah.
right.
That's the only reason I knew. I was going to bring that up at some point, and
And you have.
I love that there's like pop-up video for Star Trek.
I think it was just that
Pop-up
episode.
video.
What
Like,
the fuck? They should have done for all of them.
I think it was
that.
one episode per set. I'll have to go back and see if seasons 1 and 2. And
You know what that is? That's the way I would like special features on a DVD. Just make everything in every movie a pop-up video. That would be fine. I don't want to watch like a separate documentary that's going to take half my life.
Yeah.
Give me some little pop-ups.
You
That's
know,
all.
I had
complete with washed-up 90s actors to say them.
There was I don't know if they still
That's not
do
how
this,
pop-up
but
video worked.
when Blu-ray first came out, they would do in-set video commentary sometimes. I remember,
Yeah.
I think the Blu-ray for Sunshine had that.
Speaking of, okay, I'm going to bring this up. I'm going to talk about it because I did a thing.
My body's ready.
In preparation for this episode, I did a thing and I kind of regret it, but yet I don't. So, this episode took its inspiration from a Thorne Smith novel from the 1930s. It's called Turnabout.
I'm sorry, Thorne Smith?
Yes.
That's an amazing name.
Is it one word or is
It's
it
two words. The first name is
Thorn with E at the
Thorn
end?
with an E at the end.
Very nice.
He should not have been an author. He should have been a private detective
Or
with
a
a name
porn
like
Or
that.
star.
porn star, that's what I
Yeah.
was thinking, yeah.
Sorry, go on. Thorne Smith,
So
my
I-
new hero.
Or a dildo manufacturer. Good work.
Or a guy that made thorns for plants.
You guys are
True.
really helping right now.
Sorry.
Yeah. So the novel's called Turnabout. I read it. I read all of it.
How long was it?
200 something page.
Well,
230
that's not too bad. It
pages.
could have been so much worse. I mean, I appreciate what you've done for us, but I'm just saying.
I
Did you
feel
also
like-
only start it like a couple days ago?
days ago.
Like you bombed through that.
Yeah, it goes fast. It goes fast because it's basically a farce. It's farcically
Yeah.
written. What are you laughing at?
Farce sounds a little like fart.
farts. Yeah.
That's what this novel kind of was.
It was fartsicle, you would say.
Every moment it had, it just went for the weirdest, stupidest thing it could think of. So it's about a man and a woman, a man and his wife, who are always at each other's throats, and they say, "Well, I wish I could just switch bodies with you for one day, for not even one day, just in general, switch bodies with you. I'd show you how easy it is to be a woman, or how hard it is to be a man, or whatever, blah 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 blah." And then they have a magical little totem in their house that has a personality apparently, and does it for them. So the next day they wake up and they're in swapped bodies. They have to, the woman goes to the man's advertising job, makes an ass of himself. The woman, has her weird lover man comes over and she freaks him out.
Oh, shit!
She ends up, man in the wife's body, ends up pregnant. I'll skip ahead.
Pregnant.
The man in the woman's body gives birth to a baby in a weird and upsetting scene. And right after, literally the day after he gives birth to the child, the bodies switch back. So he wakes up and he's in the maternity ward, and the nurse comes in with the baby for feeding time. And the nurse says, "How did a man get in here?" "Well, you must be the woman. You must have given birth to this baby because you're in here. Therefore, here's a baby. Nurse it." And the man says, "I can't nurse his baby. I'm a man. I'm in this room because I gave birth to it, but I can't now because I'm a man again." And it just keeps getting weirder and stupider until the nurse is like, "No, well, you have to take this baby," and he tells her, "Why don't you nurse the baby?" And she says, "Well, I can't. I don't know if this is a baby at all. It might be a tiger for all I know." And it's like, what the fuck kind of nurse are you? And
If you
And then the
can't
baby
tell-
turns into a tiger and kills everyone in the end.
And it kind of trails off and ends around there, but it's like, what the actual fuck, this movie?
Okay.
Well,
It's
this
there's
episode
also
made a lot more sense than
Yeah.
this book, at least.
there's also a movie version of it. I didn't find the
Freaky
movie, but I found a scene of
Friday!
it. And it turned into a series, a very short-lived series in the 70s that lasted 6 or 7 episodes.
The
What was
terrible
what was-
animated intro.
Ugh.
What was the movie? I want to say it was early '90s movie where a kid and his dad.
Yeah, Freaky Friday.
No, Freaky Friday was.
That
a
was Lindsay
girl-
Lohan
no,
and Jamie
no.
Lee Curtis.
Now-
Okay, so 1976 was Freaky Friday. What the hell was the
That
Fred
was the-
Savage one called?
I think it was called Trading Places.
Was
is
Eddie
like
Murphy, yeah.
yeah. But it was Fred Savage.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was Fred Savage and Judge Reinhold. Vice versa.
I would never guess that.
okay.
Vice versa. It was Freaky Friday, but with a father and a son instead of a mother and a daughter.
And they actually animated the clothes, that's all I
Yeah.
remember about that movie.
Yeah.
So
So now we know, though, the origin of all those ridiculous body swap comedies was this regrettable novel.
Oh my
which
God.
inspired this. Not as.
No, the
Fairly
show,
okay
the
episode
show
of
was
Star
pretty
Trek.
okay because even though there's a little bit of weird misogyny in the episode, this book was nothing but misogyny.
Well, yeah, like Steve, the way they did it here, it was like the motivation for Lester was really interesting. It's just the execution was kind of poor, and
The fact that she was crazy didn't help.
yeah, like if she had to be at least a little crazy to be willing to kill so many people.
Yeah, but she just.
But she could have been crazy.
Just a little crazy to
Well,
kill
she-
her entire
She could have
crew.
been crazy without being like crazy. I can't do that. Again.
She could have been crazy, because she and Kirk had some kind of relationship.
Yeah.
He screwed her over.
The year that we were together was the only time I ever felt alive.
Yes,
Okay.
that is what she said. That's
what she said.
Yeah.
I
Oh,
missed
yeah. It's when she was in the very opening. That's
But
just
she hates him, so I don't know what that means.
It's a weird love-hate thing. Clearly.
could have gotten horribly wrong from the start.
Yeah, no, it was not super well thought out.
What if she couldn't have carried it out because she was still so in love with him?
Well,
I mean,
that's why
there-
she couldn't kill him.
There'd have been
Yeah.
no episode.
Do you think she actually eventually succeeds in her plan? Because
Well, she doesn't have the machine anymore.
Well,
She probably swaps with Coleman. And
no, she swaps with the guy who eventually becomes the captain of the Excelsior. The first captain. Because remember, he's doing his nails at one point, too.
It's true.
It's
and
a subtle...
and he's got his fancy baton.
And he seems like kind of an asshole.
Like all women are.
Well, I just meant Lester, but...
Yeah, no, I'm gonna say that, first of all, the fact that they're like, yeah, you take care of her, Coleman. What the fuck was that? This guy's an accessory to murder at the least.
And also a debarred doctor by the Surgeon General of
exactly.
Starfleet.
He got fucked by the Surgeon General. He's been involved in this elaborate deception, an attempt to take over the Enterprise and murder Captain Kirk. And yet they're just like, yeah, you better look after your woman, Coleman.
Well, they're gonna...
He's getting a little uppity here.
They're gonna go live on that, criminally insane penal colony together with,
Garth of Igar.
Garth of Igar and all that. So.
And his Orion girl.
No, she's dead. She was blown up.
Oh, yeah.
Did Starfleet go back and make sure to destroy that body switching machine? Because
I'm shocked.
I don't know. Is there a TNG episode about it? You know better than us.
I'm shocked that there's definitely body switching type episodes, but not of this
not
nature.
that particular doodad.
But I have to say, I'm shocked that we got 3 seasons into this show before we had a legit body switch episode. It just seems like...
Thank God it took that long. I actually generally
I don't like
find
them
body
either.
swap stories tedious.
Yeah, they're pretty dumb.
I thought it was great that we got another Vulcans have secret hidden superpowers thing.
Yeah.
He was giving her a deep tissue massage and it made her Kirk jump out of her and back into his own body.
The best new Klingon Vulcan superpower is the judo neck.
Oh yeah.
The feint.
That fake out maneuver.
I'm gonna neck pinch you. Oh, you got my hand? Well, I got another one.
I do like though that for once, like the security guy was like, "Oh no, I know that shit." He just wasn't ready for the judo.
Yeah, he forgot that Spock had more than one hand. A mistake that he will never make again.
He's dead now.
And going back to that about the security guards,
Jesus,
I was thinking, it is a little weird that the security guards just are all readily going along with this insanity.
Readily?
No.
Sorry.
But the more I think about it, the more I'm like, I'm okay with it because here's the thing. Who on the ship actually knows Captain Kirk personally?
Anybody who was in that room who mutinied.
Right, exactly. So the people who knew Captain Kirk and knew there was something wrong with him were Spock, McCoy, Scotty, Sulu, Chekhov.
And random communications lady.
Yeah.
And Uhura, if she had been there. What the fuck?
Well, except earlier on in the episode, remember, Spock and McCoy are, before he's even started to go really batshit, they're talking about the fact that, even the fact that he's just been a little weird since he got back has apparently already spread among the whole ship and is fucking with morale.
No, that's true. They did mention that. But at the same time, I feel like if you're one of the top guys on the ship and you know the captain very well, you work with him a lot, you're going, and you're, in some cases, you're personal friends with him.
Yeah.
You're going to be more ready to believe that this, woman is taking over his body and this story's all true versus the fucking schlubs down in Sector 7G who
aren't paid enough to...
Yeah, they're just like, oh, the captain ordered me to beat this woman, so I guess I do that now.
And there should have been ways that they could have proven it better in that stupid court-martialed nonsense. Because Spock gets them to say, okay, bring Lester in here and she'll tell you. What they should have just done, because for some reason they don't trust Spock enough with his testimony about the mind meld.
Lie?
Yeah, Spock wouldn't lie about this shit.
Vulcans can't lie, people think, even though they're wrong.
Oh, he wouldn't lie about this. He doesn't want to be in command, so fuck that noise.
Do you love that every time? They're like, oh, you just want to be in charge. And he's like, no, I literally would rather do nothing.
We've seen him in charge. It's always a mistake.
He hates it!
It's bad. Why not just put Kirk in one room, put Lester in another room, and ask them both the same questions, and see which one of them gets them right. And then and then it's done.
That was actually one of the other things the little pop-up had suggested. Just ask Lester what the beam-up code had been.
Yes! I was thinking about that beam-up code, because it didn't come back ever again.
Yeah.
It was only used once.
Spock sort of ends that line when he says, when Kirk as Lester says oh, remember the Tholian Web incident, and da-da-da-da. And Spock's like, oh, well, that stuff's all been recorded. You could have learned that.
What did I have for breakfast today?
What he could have done is gone and asked those same questions, perhaps even referencing those same events.
Yeah.
Go ask Kirk, the body of Kirk, and see if he knew them.
Well, plus, I mean, at the very least, even if the main events, I love that fucking apparently every Starfleet mission just any schmuck can look up. Great security, guys. But, like, surely the minutia weren't recorded for the public record,
right.
You know? You know, what did my suit smell like when you finally beamed me back on board and we got the helmet off?
Every time Kirk violated the Prime
Tacos.
Directive, definitely not in the books, I would guess.
Yeah, I wonder if they recorded that he knocked up Miramani.
He was so happy.
It was the only time he ever felt alive.
It was refreshing, too, to see someone that he had fucked who did not fall for the magic cock.
Yeah, because they would all have sour grapes. He loved and left everyone. Nobody would be like, oh, it was so nice when you left me.
I do feel
2
like
years, 3 months, and an odd number of days ago.
the problem ultimately is that I do feel like the show tries to imply, and this is one of the other failings in the characterization of Lester, is that it was actually her fault that everything fell apart, but she blames him. Because Kirk, as Lester, talks about how, you know, the relationship was awful because she so hated her own womanhood or something. And, that was during the shouting match. It was easy to miss. So I think the show is trying to sort of lay the blame at her feet, and I think it would have been better if they just admitted, like, yeah, Kirk fucked this one up.
Kirk was a man whore.
Yeah,
all the time.
And this time it blew up in his face. It would, that's another thing that maybe would have helped make it a little better. Because I think if not for the sort of poor characterization of Lester, it maybe could have been one of the really good ones.
Yeah.
But
All the
fucks it up.
mutiny stuff was really neat. I was watching the Scotty and Dr. McCoy conversation in that corridor. Great scene. I could tell Scotty had been waiting to mutiny all his fucking life.
Yeah. Oh, and it's interesting because I saw that and thought, like, wow, I now wish they had given McCoy and Scotty more scenes quietly together like this.
Oh, it's
They've
funny.
got a really good
Rapport.
which we don't ever get to see.
I've been reading the
Till 4.
a book that was printed between seasons 2 and 3 called The Making of Star Trek,
Mm-hmm.
and it has little character descriptions of everybody, and they talk about Scotty and McCoy as being like the best of friends on the Enterprise. Because they also both like a drink.
Just gonna say drinking buddies.
Drinking buddies, basically.
They're the best of friends, but they can never remember it.
And I was thinking, like, wow, you don't see an awful lot of that in the show.
No, I mean, like I was saying, I think the next time we just sort of see them hanging around together alone is Star Trek 4, when they're trying to get transparent aluminum, whatever, from,
Whales.
they're trying to get the plexiglass. But we'll get to that when we get to Star Trek 4, which
that's
is
a little while.
really soon!
That's true.
Actually.
Yeah, so we're done with TOS. I had a funny note on this episode. So as the episode that rounded off the whole series, it was supposed to air in March of 1969, but Eisenhower had just died, so they had to postpone because they were doing all this coverage of Eisenhower and funeral and whatever else. So they postponed it for like 2 or 3 months.
Wow.
Like, at least 2 months until June. And they've had it for the first and only time in like a Tuesday, early evening slot.
Yeah, see, the commentary that I was...
Tomorrow, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. Yeah,
The 3rd?
Yeah. So there you go now, everyone listening. You know when we recorded. But, the pop-up did say it premiered on June 2nd, the 3rd, and I was just like, that's a weird date. But they didn't explain why it was so late. So it's good to know.
Yeah. I mean, the whole 3rd season was fucked anyway.
True.
Yeah, so they had cut budgets to the point that their ratings dropped way down.
Yeah.
And
Which again,
it was a shame.
To me, is shocking because, well, I know we're gonna talk about this in a minute.
Yeah.
But I felt like 3 was actually better than I expected and better than I had heard.
It
and
had more
yielded
gems
a lot
than
of
I thought it
great
would.
stuff.
Yeah.
Right?
Actually, it was the only season that had a gem.
Yeah, it's true.
I liked that episode a lot,
Good episode.
Yeah, Jim was cool.
in spite of its absolutely non-existent.
So, did we have any more thoughts specifically on this one, or should we move to the larger... I mean, obviously, since we're going to be doing a larger discussion, we can come back to things, but should we segue into opening the floodgates?
I would love to open some
Let's
floodgates.
open those floodgates. We'll be joined here by the White Cat.
Hey, White Cat. White
So-
Cat's here.
Something I had said off air a few weeks ago, and I'll say now, is I remember going into this, having not... I mean, I'd never seen this episode. at all.
Turnabout Intruder.
Turnabout Intruder. And going in, there were a lot of episodes I maybe hadn't seen or hadn't seen in so long they were intensely vague. But I remember, there's the Futurama episode, which we are going to watch sooner than later now, where no fan has gone before, where Fry is trying to get Nimoy to talk about Star Trek. He's like, 80 episodes, about 30 good ones. And I thought, that's a bit harsh. And it's like, yeah, maybe not. I'd maybe up it to 40. But
half of them are good?
I mean, I'd say, if we're talking genuinely good, honestly, 30 to 40 might be an honest number.
I don't even know. I mean, I even think that's being a little generous.
I
think 30 is fair for good.
Yes, yeah, and then between meh and bad, you get the other.
Yeah, there's a lot of
50.
meh. My meh pile was very thick.
Oh yes.
And then bad, when it's bad.
Yeah, but without even trying, I came up with 16 good ones, and that was ones that I thought could make it into my top 5. There were others I liked that, but I know it's not top 5, so I'm not even right. So I probably could come up with 30 pretty easily, which is why I think maybe I could even get it a little higher.
But here's the thing: for me, I feel like we'd be grading. I'd be grading on a curve, because I would be for this show. Yes, there are probably 30 good episodes, but I think the thing that this has sort of made very clear to me is that the original series is, for a lot of people, that is Star Trek. And I think that's wonderful. I think that's good. But for me, I look at this as being a foundational step.
It's the first draft.
It's the first draft. And
yeah, you wonder what they would have done with extra seasons.
And
or even extra episodes of this season.
And I feel like we will, with TNG in particular, we will see early on there's a lot of weak episodes. The early seasons of TNG possibly have a lower success rate than TOS.
And I wonder how they were able to stay on, if that was the case.
Because it was still a popular show.
And Patrick Stewart is a god.
And to be honest, I feel that TNG really didn't come too much into its own strongly until Roddenberry kind of stepped away, and we kind of lose, DC Fontana left. A lot of the people that were on the original series that were on TNG started to leave, and new blood came in, and the show really picked up. And watching this, it's got a lot of shades of that Roddenberry, as visionary as he was, and all the stuff that he did, his contribution with creating Star Trek is wonderful, but he's not that good a fucking writer.
It's kind of like George Lucas.
He's kind of George Lucas-y in that way. It's you got to give him props as being the guy that created all this, but at the end of the day, he
creating the universe and the basic idea and bringing together the talent pool he brought together to create TOS, which did lead to some huge classics of science fiction television.
Yeah.
But I mean, let's be honest, even with the movies, the ones he had less control over were the better ones.
Yes.
Star Trek II, still widely regarded as one of the best Trek movies. Nicholas Meyer knew shit about Star Trek.
Yeah.
He came in and he was part of the reason they did Wrath of Khan was because he was all right, I'm going to do Star Trek. They didn't really know what they were doing with it, but they knew they wanted him to, help write and direct it.
Yeah, I like this Khan character. Let's go that way.
Exactly. He basically sat down, watched TOS, and said, I want to know what happened with that.
That's a good way to do it.
And the thing is, they end that episode literally with, it will be interesting to
So
see
hopeful.
what fruit, is born from the seeds you planted today, or whatever the fuck he says.
Space seed you planted.
And then he fucks up the optimism, which admittedly does go against sort of the whole Star Trek optimism thing.
But you know what? Star Trek...
I mean, it's a debate that comes up time and again, especially when
Should
it
they
gets
be
to
optimistic
DS9.
or what?
It's just it's I would classify Star Trek optimism at its best as being cautious optimism.
Yeah.
That we can, everything's, humanity can do great things and we can be peaceful and things will be okay and there'll be this technological whatever. But it can and does get fucked up.
Yeah, and I think the thing is,
careful.
you can be an optimist even if things have gone wrong, all right, the space seed thing didn't work out, but we're not going to immediately let our entire worldview be shattered because of it. If anything, the optimism is stronger because even when shit sucks, you think, no, you know what, it can still get better.
When this is something that will probably come up when we do get close to TNG, and I'll see if I can dig it up somewhere, but somewhere I online or something I found a memo that was sent to the writers by Roddenberry, sort of like a production part of the production Bible for TNG when they were just doing the first season, and it had some like ridiculous things like, oh, there's no interpersonal conflict between the characters. It's like,
but so many of the stories never leave the fucking ship. How are you then going to have any conflict?
There's no, basically...
But Roddenberry didn't want there to be?
He wanted there to be that there's never any conflict.
That's a terrible idea.
So there are no breakups in the future then?
There's no drama in the future. You can't do a show. And I think that's ultimately what people are saying. The writers are like, listen, we can't write drama if we're not allowed to write drama.
Yeah.
So let's not... Let's fire the old man and make a better show.
Fire the old
But again, he did set, like we're saying, some very important groundwork.
Absolutely.
Did some very important things. He deserves to be remembered positively, as does George Lucas, frankly.
Yeah, of course. Well, I remember George every day. May he rest in peace.
I just want to isolate that on the horrifying off chance if between now and when we post this...
Oh, God.
You will have killed George Lucas, just so we're clear. But yeah, no, I mean, overall, though, I did like a lot of it. There was a lot that I was like, it was fine. There weren't too many, for me, major clunkers. In retrospect, I know those of you who listen to all of these might go, what? But certain ones
I had at least 30 clunkers.
Are remembered either more fondly or at least in relation to their later, eviler cousins. Suddenly it's like, Why did I hate this one so much? I mean, I'd still probably never watch it again, but it doesn't seem as bad
That
anymore.
could also just be because your memory isn't very good.
I mean,
maybe.
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Before we start, though, I just want to, and I know I already said this to you, but I have, or to both of you, or to all of you, I don't know, to some of you, I have two things that I suspect will happen with these episodes.
With laying bets down?
So they'll overlap?
Yes.
There'll be some overlap, I know.
I believe that everyone will have put Assignment Earth on their worst list, and that everyone will have put For the World is Hollow and I Have Touched the Sky on their best list.
We'll find out.
That is my...
That's your prediction?
That's my prediction.
All right,
who wants to start?
Jake does.
Jake does.
Oh, I can't with one hand.
All right, number 5, my 5th worst episode of Star Trek The Original Series, The Apple.
Oh,
The Apple.
shit.
That one
The
just
Theaters
got
of
bumped for me.
Fall.
You know what's
Send
most
it to
upsetting
your
about
family.
the Apple for me? So in our fanfics, I picked Yeoman Martha Landon, who was in the Apple. So recently, whilst working on my fanfic, I had to rewatch the Apple to remember stuff she did.
Oh, I'm so
poor
sorry.
bastard.
Yeah, it's as bad as you remember.
Good.
Landon's good though. She's
Good,
cool.
I remember her being the only good part.
Yep, she was pretty much the only good part. Everything else was really upsetting.
Okay, so number 4,
Yeah.
The Enema Within.
You really hate that
That's
one.
right, you do hate that one. I forgot about
Jake
that.
That
really
is
hates
split.
that
Wait,
one.
is that Rapey Kirk?
That's
Yeah.
Rapey Kirk.
Yeah, that's
Whoa.
double Kirk.
That is double Kirk.
Touch Dick's Kirk.
really,
And you hated Rapey Kirk.
Now that I think of it, you did. You really didn't. I think that was our first actively hated by any of us episode.
Yeah, I
in
really
fact.
do not care for that episode. It makes number 4 on my list.
Man.
And I mean,
That's a little
a lot
harsh.
of people will disagree with me because I know a lot of people.
That's
like
considered
that
one of the
episode.
big ones.
Yeah, I really don't like
Yeah,
it.
No,
The
that-
only
that's fair,
redeeming
though.
quality on that episode, I think, is Sulu heating up some rocks.
Yeah.
I don't know. Enemy Within made my top 30.
That is,
Oh.
you were wrong.
Because
but-
I ranked them all because I'm a crazy person and like ranking things.
Okay,
in
number
spreadsheets.
3.
Can we maybe-
Number 3. Number 3.
Number 3. Any guesses?
No.
Go on.
Let that be your last battlefield.
Croc!
Yes.
The Paradise Syndrome.
Oh.
Paradise Syndrome almost made my list, but it ended up being, I think, number 6. So
Wow.
Fuck, I forgot all about that one.
Yeah, that one's way
That's
down.
how bad
That
it
one's
is.
actually way down for me.
Oh wait, I have a guess for your number 2.
What is
Oh.
Or is it your number 1? Fuck.
Abe Lincoln.
One of your remaining 2 might be Space Nazis.
Jake loves space Nazis.
Not as much as Spock, but
it? We'll talk about Space Nazis, but it is not my number 2 because my number 2 is the Omega Glory.
Oh, that one's so bad.
Pretty awful.
which one was that again?
E Plagnista.
Plagnista.
With Cloud-
The
Cloud
Yangs and the
Problems.
Cones.
Yeah, that one Also,
Did I sleep through that episode?
No, that's the one where they start dictating the preamble to the Constitution.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah,
that
that
one.
one.
that one
That
also almost made my top 5. But
You
didn't.
hate a parallel.
I despise a parallel development, but
Yeah.
ultimately it was what kept it. It's probably in the top 10 still, but what kept it out of the top 5 was the guy who played the crazy captain. He was so good.
Oh,
yeah, he was actually pretty good.
Captain Tracy.
He was Tracy? Okay.
I think he was.
Um,
Because he was also Van Gelder. He was good.
He was.
a good actor.
and my number 1 worst episode, Star Trek, the original series. Not to disappoint Caitlin.
Disappointed.
Oh.
Because I won't disappoint Caitlin because it's Assignment Earth! Yay!
Yeah, Assignment Earth. What a
Yeah.
fucking
Yeah.
pile of
Assignment
shit
Earth.
that was.
So
That's my number 1.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, and so I do have to give an honorable mention to Patterns of Force because it didn't, although it didn't make my bottom 5, still a pretty bad episode. But it's not really a bad episode. It's just a bad premise. It's just an upsetting.
Yeah. It's another fucking. It's not even parallel development, but it's putting
It's
Earth
just-
development
it's
on
just
another
they wanted
planet.
to do, it's just they wanted to do Nazis, so they got to do Nazis, and that's fine. Everyone gets a chance to do Nazis. That's great. But it just felt unnecessary. It felt too on the nose, and I was none too impressed.
Wow, I have much overlap. I have less overlap with you than I thought I would.
Yeah,
Interesting. This will be fun.
I'm glad I got to go first because you might convince me to change my list.
There's no changing. It's over.
I almost feel like
It's final.
I should go next.
you should go last
I should go
because you did the
last.
most thorough job of any of us.
and we should.
Alright.
You were going to
just-
ask if we could post that online, and I think we
Yeah.
absolutely should.
Could we?
Just so our listeners
I might
know-
rethink a couple of them, but
So our listeners know she has every episode
color coded.
color coded and ranked.
Yep. It's a thing of beauty. And I feel lazy.
So
Yeah,
you
it's
know
a- it's
that her bottom, that her whole list is going to be.
You're gonna talk about my bottom?
These are objective measurements.
Yes, they're all based on how much screen time McCoy has,
Yes.
which is a shame because it would have put Where No Man Has Gone Before at the bottom because he's not in that one.
It's true.
But I like that episode.
It's a good episode.
So Chris or Caitlin, who wants to go next?
You go next.
Me?
Go, Caitlin, go. I want to hear these. These are gonna be fun.
The 5th worst, 4th runner-up for worst episode was Cat's Paw.
Huh.
I fucking hated that
You
episode.
did.
I hated everything about that episode. The only redeeming quality about that episode was when they made the cat really huge. You know?
And run through a
When they
dollhouse.
actually
The
made the
obvious
cat
models,
huge, you
yeah.
know, and the cat was gigantic. It was great. But I just thought that episode was absolute fucking nonsense and I hated it.
Oh my god, yeah, that fucking Sylvia and her clown costume.
But
No, that was ISIS.
You didn't like their little
Marionettes.
marionettes.
Oh, they're cute.
Those were cute.
They were right. Fine, 2 redeeming qualities. After that, Let That Be Your Last Battlefield.
Ooh.
I really hated it.
That
I
was
thought for
miserable.
sure that it was going to be good because, like, I'm black on my right side and well, he is, whatever. I thought for sure it would be good because it's like this infamous thing. It turns out it's infamous because it sucks. And also now having, more evidence of which way Frank Gorshin dresses, which side he dresses on, like, in case the Riddler wasn't enough, now we know.
Yeah.
So then, 3rd worst or 2nd runner-up would be Spock's Brain. Fucking hated Spock's
Okay,
Brain.
it made a list.
Yeah,
Because it is famously bad.
I really didn't care for it. I thought it was boring. I felt bad for Leonard Nimoy. I felt bad for myself
felt
for
bad for
having to
himself.
watch it. Like, that was crap. 1st runner-up or 2nd worst, I put And the Children Shall Lead. Boy, did I fucking hate that episode. I like that I have, nothing of substance to say, except I just hated that episode. But, I didn't like the episode. I didn't like Hologram Angel Daddy, whatever the fuck. I didn't like how,
Yeah, that guy
like,
kind of a molester.
what dick fucks they were about their parents being dead. I didn't like there being children anywhere near this show, which I know would make you think that Miri should have been on my list, and believe me, it was close. But yeah, I hated And the Children Shall Leave. Like,
They did leave eventually, yes.
lead. And the Children Shall Leave. That was a pretty good Freudian
hoping
slip,
it was.
actually. That's a Freudian slip right there. And, obviously, number 1, Assignment Earth.
Yep.
What the fuck was even happening? Why did that
Not Star Trek.
Why did
That's
that
what was
happen?
happening.
Yeah.
Why did Terry Garr do such a bad job acting?
Oof. So
Why
bad.
did they try to shoehorn the Enterprise crew into this episode? Why was, Spock, who is always like, oh, logic, suddenly like, intuition. Like, I just...
But Spock's hats in that episode.
The good hats.
He had some killer hats.
Good hats.
Man, so both of your bottom 5s have the kitty cats in them.
I know, it's
That's
so,
kind of upsetting.
so unlike me, isn't it?
Yeah,
You know?
man. Harsh.
Well, you know, the rules were probably very strict about how you had to treat animals back then, so honestly, it's probably one more reason to hate them, frankly.
But yeah, I mean, interestingly, you know, although we only really overlapped on that, I don't disagree with any of your episodes. Honestly, they're all pretty.
They're all hot garbage. God damn.
The funny thing is, I didn't hate Spock's brain.
The thing is, I'd had
The premise is interesting.
I feel like
a planet that needs to be run by something.
Yeah. And I may have said this on the episode, but it had been built up for me for so long as so bad that, like, yeah, it was bad, but it wasn't that bad.
Again, though, it got a pass hard because Assignment Earth immediately preceded it.
But even
I think if it weren't for that, we all would have been like...
That's a very good point.
I don't know, because I mean, even thinking about it now, later with the whole series done, I'm still just like, there's so much worse still.
What was the other one? What was the one with the web? Endolian web?
Tholian web.
Tholian web. Fucking hated that. That was up there for me as well.
Oh yeah, we
Again,
can't decide if Spock and McCoy like each other or
Yeah,
hate each
that
other.
one didn't make my top 5, but it is surprisingly overrated for one that's considered a big
I
classic.
hated it. It was only a classic because, like, the graphic was good.
For the time, that
but
was
everything
shockingly
else
good.
was
Yeah.
terrible. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Like, Mary, again, obviously hated Mary. I didn't hate the apple as much as either of you, because I'm pretty sure it's probably on Chris's list, too. I could be wrong. Maybe it was edged out. We'll find out.
I don't know.
But, I mean, the apple wasn't good either, but, like, it wasn't... I didn't hate it as much.
Yeah.
But, yeah, anyway, so those are my worst 5.
All right, my bottom 5. The Savage Curtain.
Yup.
Oh,
That one was bad.
Abe Lincoln.
Did you say, hey, Blinken?
You know, that one probably would have been on my list if I hadn't slept through it.
You missed nothing.
Yeah, that's how bad it was.
Number 4. Bread and Circuses.
Oh, yeah.
It was a tough call between that and Omega Glory for my which parallel development did I hate more thing. Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, they both had the same thing, even though I despise the parallel development thing.
And you do. You
Yep.
do.
Omega Glory had Captain Tracy. Bread and Circuses had that wonderful smarmy fuck. So at the end of the day, it came down to which stupid ending did I find more enraging. And at the end of the day, Jesus is out in space now, edged out E Planista or whatever. So that's why Bread and Circuses made it and Omega Glory didn't.
Oh, see, Bread and Circuses for me got so many extra points for that Spock, McCoy, and the
scene.
South.
And I was just going to say, wasn't that scene?
It's good.
That scene is amazing,
They're
which shows
beautiful.
how much I really fucking hated the ending.
I can't hate anything that has that much Spock McCoy beauty
I don't
in
even
it.
remember the ending anymore. Jesus in space?
They realized that when everyone was talking about the sun, they weren't sun worshippers. They were
that.
S-O-N.
Uhura was there to be the good churchgoer and explain it to him.
Jesus.
Oh, that's upsetting.
Makes me angry again just thinking about it. So yes, definitely worse than Omega Glory. Because I think about the Omega Glory ending and I just roll my eyes and shit myself a little. This one still makes me actively mad.
Honestly, isn't that much different from times when he isn't thinking
And
about
don't worry, Omega Glory, if we had a top 10 list, Omega Glory would probably on it. But top 5, Bread and Circuses. And it's
Damn.
fucking Space Jesus. Number 3, The Apple.
There it is.
There it is.
Number 2, Assignment Earth.
Of course.
Holy shit, so you are saying that there's something worse than Assignment Earth.
And Chris is
Does
a
anybody
is it?
want to place a bet on
What
what
is
this
it?
might be? I want to... Do you have any thoughts?
I spied his list, so I know.
Jake's seen
Oh, you've seen it.
It might be if it's the same as mine, I'll be consoled, but I'll let you say.
Let that be your last battlefield.
Oh yeah, that one.
Oh, I said that one. That's
It's
awful.
my number
One's
1
bad.
because
One's so
not
bad.
only is it a bad episode, but I am extra annoyed by the fact that really, like I said in the episode, like part of the conclusion seems to be racists and anti-racists are equally bad. And it's just like, I'm sorry, what? Backtrack, what? Because that's the thing. Is like at the end of the day, it turns into a huge civil war that destroys their society. And it's like, I get what you're going for, that you know, if we don't sit and talk to each other rationally, it's going to destroy us all. But it really just ends up coming off as, because it's such a poorly written episode, as, you know, it kind of ends up feeling like part of the message is just, you know, if the inferior guys had just, you know, stayed in their place, this war never would have happened. It feels that way. And again, I don't think that was their point, but the episode was so badly made, it kind of felt that way. So fuck that episode forever for, like, kind of being sympathetic unintentionally to racists.
You know what that episode
Fair.
needed? That guy from the Sneetches cartoon
Yeah.
would show up.
Yeah.
Switch around the stars upon
They would've
Mars.
been, yeah.
Or just make them also they're gray.
Or
They're just all gray people
Or
now.
Mork. There's an
From
episode...
Mork and Mindy?
There's an episode, this was years ago, so I might be misremembering it, but Mork accidentally joins the Klan.
Whoa.
Like as in the Ku Klux Klan?
I forget if it was actually the Klan or a thinly veiled parody, but the idea is he just meets these people.
Thinly veiled.
He meets these
Instead of heavily
people
hooded.
at, like, a party or something, and they all seem really nice, and they like him, because he's white. And he gets on... And they get on really well, but then, that's because it's just a normal party, but they don't talk about being awful. And then eventually, Mindy's like, Mork, I think you joined the Klan. And Mork's like, what's the Klan? And she explains racism, and he's horrified. And if I recall properly, it ends with them at a party. And again, if they weren't literally the Klan, they were a parody and had, like, hoods. It ended with Mork using his space powers to turn them, like, purple and polka dotted and all these wacky circus colors to help make a point via comedy and severe cosmetic alteration.
Good work, Mork.
Again, this was years ago, I might be misremembering it, but I do distinctly remember the end with, like, the people taking their hoods off and having ludicrous, skin tones humans can't have.
Those weren't polka dots. Those were some kind of outer space measles, and he killed them all.
Hopefully.
One can hope.
Yeah,
So,
there's a very similar episode of the Andy Griffith Show.
really?
Yeah. Opie joins the Klan.
Okay, you're kidding. It took me a minute. Ames?
Welcome to Jake. Welcome to my bottom 5. I will not disappoint. Number 5 on the bottom 5. Fucking Miri. Fuck you, Miri. I hate you so much. I can't even forgive you and let you be number 6 or something just because I have to tell you how much I hate you. And it's not that, the premise could be interesting, but and child actors aren't always bad. There've been a couple okay ones. All of these were miserable. All of them were very upsetting. And
Bonk on the head.
bonk on the head, nya for fucking half an hour. No, can't fucking do it. You're wrong. You're just plain wrong.
Yeah, for half a fucking hour.
This is the song that...
Oh no, you're cruel and unusual.
I'm
Not that.
pretty cruel. Number 4, I have agreed with, I think Chris put it on his list, The Savage Curtain was also really bad.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Very bad. Very
It
bad.
was just pointlessly bad. I don't know why it was there.
It's stupid. Stupid episode.
Number 3, reappearance of the Omega Glory, also terribly bad.
Bad episode.
I will still say it's better. It's worse than Bread and Circuses because Bread and Circuses has that redeeming moment. Number 4, Caitlin, you win. Assignment Earth.
Yay!
Because it's not Star Trek. It's not even Star Trek.
No.
Why did you make this? Why did you allow this
Why
to
am
happen?
I have this?
And my number 1 hated episode is Let That Be Your Last Battlefield.
Hey!
Oh, 2 number 1 spots for Let That Be Your Last
It's so
Battlefield.
bad. And the thing that I hate about Let That Be Your Last Battlefield is that they just pack it full of probably 35 minutes of filler.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like there's
a
5
lot
minutes
of
of episode and half an hour of running down hallways with footage of destruction.
Which I really wanted to be better.
Ah, no.
I wanted that to be good. Like, I like
The
that
running
idea.
down hallways?
No,
idea?
not the hallway. Just the flashing of the destruction. Like, I liked that idea,
I
but
don't
like,
know.
it wasn't done well.
No, it wasn't done well. I'm having trouble picturing how that could have even
I don't
worked.
know. I really wanted to think it was clever.
Well, the problem was that
Sad.
the episode would have run 20 minutes long, and they were like, "Oh God, what do we do? Pack it with something. Pack it with Shatner making faces for some reason."
That would have been better.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's
So,
a mime
yeah.
again.
There we go.
I'll say the apple just got edged out of my top 5 by the Savage Curtain from the other week. So,
That's fair.
so there you go.
So it's interesting because I think what
We had a couple overlaps.
Okay, there it is. I was gonna say,
Oh yeah.
I knew Shore Leave wasn't gonna be far from your.
the infamous season 3.
Shirley, yeah, and the children shall leave.
Yeah.
How many
Horrible.
season 3s did we have between the 4 of us in our top bottom 5? Because I've got
Oh, I forget.
5 between the 3 of us.
five unique season 3 episodes between the 4 of us. Yeah.
Not bad.
So season 3, according to us anyway, better than people think.
Well, I think I mentioned this to Caitlin too. My top 5 has way more season 3s in it than there should be, and I'm trying to wonder to myself, like, is that because I saw them more recently and thus I'm remembering them better than the ones from like season 1 that I still think of fondly? But there were just a lot in season 3 that I really liked.
Looking at that chart, I don't think you were half-assing this.
I mean, it's subjective is the thing. Like, all of it is like, I could remember, like, one thing. I almost forgot which one of the episodes was and gave it a shit rating and then realized later, wait a minute, what was that?
I mean, that's the thing, though. With television, it's the impression that sticks that's kind of important.
Yeah, it's true.
Now, let's start with the
Yeah, the top
top
five.
five. All right, my top five, and I love my top five. My top five are ones that I'm very fond of. So my number 5, and this one was hard. So it was between Charlie X and this one, and I picked The Naked Time just because I love it.
Such a
I
good
love it
episode.
so much.
That's good.
I love the Spock acting in The Naked Time when he has his meltdown.
Yep.
And I love Sulu because Sulu's amazing.
Yep.
Like Naked Time is just so perfect.
Which I think is so funny, because I think of that as being like one of the funnest episodes, and you famously do not usually like fun.
See, I think it's fun done in a way that's clever. I love clever.
Well,
I
that's-
hate fucking farces like that fucking novel I just read. That's fucking bullshit. But I love like interesting, clever humor, and this stuff had a lot of that. So thank you, The Naked Time. You are fantastic. Number 4 was the Enterprise incident, where we meet Romulan Commander Lady, and she has her boner for Spock, which is a good one.
A good boner?
A good boner for Spock. Number 3,
3.
I recently rewatched this one just to make sure I loved it as much as I do, and I do, is Return to Tomorrow, the one with Sargon and his folk living in their orbs, taking over bodies. That one's just it's a good premise to me. It's very smart.
Is that the one where the bad guy takes over Spock
Yeah.
and shit? That's a good one.
That
yeah.
one came very close to making my top 5, but didn't quite.
Nice. Yeah, I think it's just well written.
Yeah,
and,
no, it's a really good one.
And I also apparently I really love, what's her fucking name? Lady who plays Pulaski.
Yeah.
Diana
Diana
Muldaur?
Muldaur,
yeah.
Apparently I really love Diana Muldaur because my number 2 is There in Truth No Beauty? Also starring Diana Muldaur.
It's a great episode,
Cat
too.
Box. Great.
Great episode. Oh my god. With what's his name? Kalos, the ugly
Medusan.
alien. Yeah, the Medusan. So cool. He was very neat. And it gets Spock. A lot of the ones I really like have Spock as other characters than Spock as Nimoy as other characters than Spock, because it lets him do fucking cool stuff.
Yeah.
Which I think is great, because otherwise he's stuck being a Vulcan all the time. And my number 1, as Caitlin has already alluded, because of course it is For the World is Hollow and I Have Touched the Sky.
I love that episode.
So
good
good.
episode.
And it's not just good because it has McCoy front and center having lady friends.
But that helps.
It's
It
just
doesn't
it's
hurt.
just really well done.
You know, we talked about it at the time. It was a surprisingly just good episode
Yeah.
on its own merits.
I liked it a lot.
I almost feel like, and I wonder if that edge of surprise doesn't give it all that extra boosts. Like you want to root for, because it's like, wow, I didn't know you'd be so good, and you're really good.
Yeah, maybe.
Whereas like ones like City on the Edge of Forever could easily have been in my top 5 because it's a good episode, but I had expected it to be.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think, I don't know about anyone else, I mean, I kind of wonder how much I was trying purposely to avoid the obvious ones. But then again, I've got at least one obvious one in there, so maybe not.
Yeah. So mine has 3 season 3 episodes in it, and then 1 from 2 and 1 from 1.
Huh?
So
Very good.
I'm weird like that, I guess.
I think I have 3 from 3 as well.
Three's,
Really? Oh,
I
this
think
will be
so,
interesting.
I think three's a better season than it gets credit for.
Yeah.
So for me,
Yeah.
I think I'm probably going to have one that no one else will.
Ooh.
I mean, I think in general, I'm willing to bet our favorites will overlap less, but I think this one might catch people a little off guard, just because The Cage.
I do like The Cage.
I was considering putting the Cage in.
Oh, okay.
Remind me which one the Cage is?
The original pilot with Captain Pike.
Oh, no, I think
number
the
1
Cage,
and-
no, I don't like
See,
the
I like
Cage.
the... What are they fucking called?
Telosians.
Not the Thasians. Yeah, the Telosians. I like the Telosians. I think they're cool.
I just like this. It's still, in many ways recognizable as Star Trek, and a lot of the foundation is there, but it's interesting to see this slightly broodier version.
Well, for me, it's almost... The Cage to me is almost a lot like later Trek.
If this were a TNG episode, I wouldn't doubt for a second.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You could totally see this exact scenario happening in TNG.
Yeah.
And you would bat an eye.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, no, The Cage really stuck with me. I really liked it, and I gotta admit, I kind of like the more muted paint job for the bridge.
Yeah.
I do.
I like that. That's what you're basing your vote on.
Oh, I'm not. That's just I like. Episode aside, think about the aesthetics. I kind of like the original version of the bridge better. I do, however, prefer the uniforms they will later have. I don't like the just beige and blue. Thank God they put in the red uniforms. I just don't know if they then need to put the red all over
Well,
the
if
bridge.
the whole set was beige and then all their clothes were beige, it would have been a pretty beige show.
Yeah.
But you know what else you must have loved? The women!
Oh, yeah. I forgot about that somehow.
Oh,
Classic Star Trek moment.
I also have a soft spot for those ridiculous science fiction sparkly away jackets. You know me, I'm the aesthetics asshole. So moving on, not quite up high, but For the World is Hollow. And I
Ooh.
Touch the Sky is my
Love
number
that
4.
episode.
Love it.
So good.
It's genuinely good. Number 3, A Piece of the Action.
Oh, no.
I adored that episode. You remember watching with me. I think I was like in stitches almost the whole time. It
is
was
good.
so fun. Kirk and Spock trying to be old-timey gangsters and just sounding like Bugs Bunny and fucking Fizbin and it's so good.
He was
Just
very
the
gleeful.
scene of Oxmix trying to play pool.
Oh yeah.
It was good.
Oh god. Heat is
Drop the heaters.
You
Give me some of those fancy heaters.
A piece of the action.
shit, should that be higher up the list? No, it's good at 3.
Huh.
Number 2, this is a little obvious, but I don't care. Balance of Terror.
Oh, that one, yes. Our first meeting with the
Romulans.
Run-in with the
I was
Romulans.
gonna say I legit didn't remember. Oh, with Sarek, who wasn't really
Sarek not being Sarek, and his you know, his good friend the Centurion.
Who
and
was Stom, but not Stom.
No, the old guy
What old
was the
guy?
Centurion.
Yeah,
his friend who
the-
died, and he put his body in the... Ston was some
Oh.
other guy of a different rank. But yeah, Ston, but not Ston.
When their ship was caving in.
Yeah. The effects are a bit dodgy, but it is a very good episode. You know, it's a good little... For what it is, it's a little unusual. It's so blatantly like a sort of a war picture thing, but still a really good episode.
Submarine movie.
Yeah. And my number 1,
Yeah.
The Conscience of the King.
Ooh,
That's a good
That is
episode.
a good
Yeah.
one.
That
I
was
like
like-
that
That
one.
came close to my top 2.
That was in my green column for sure when I was going through.
It took me a while to settle on which one was my favorite. I was like, I think it's that one. Because for all that there was that are fun and wacky and this and that, like that one's like it like I said, the impression it gave me. Like right now, ask me to name specifics, I don't know, but it just sticks with you as like
Kodos was a fantastic actor.
yeah,
He was
and
so good.
The
was
daughter's
Shakespearean.
meltdown. Yes, the daughter's meltdown. The whole thing. It's a fascinating look at this, especially like again. And I'm separated from the time, but like when the fact that there were still, a lot of World War II war criminals running around, hiding in plain sight like he would have been. And even today, they're all like 90, but there's still a few of them out there. But just dealing with that in what seems to be sort of a very mature way. In something that was... This is still an era when science fiction was largely dismissed as for children. And I mean, I think we can't underestimate how much Star Trek helped push that idea out of people's minds. Even though it also overlapped with Lost in Space, which is charming, but a children's show.
Good top 5, Chris.
Thank you.
I'm having some doubts now about my top 5. Only one.
Never
really.
doubt.
No, I do. I have a doubt.
Well, this way we get to talk about it. It'll be great.
So, at number 5, I put Elan of Troyes.
Really?
Yeah, I really liked it.
No, that's fair.
I think it was that
Such a
spanking
bitch.
scene. No, it was cool to see this I liked she was kind of tough, and I liked that I
She wasn't
loved
your stereotype.
and I
It was
loved when
great.
Kirk was just over it, at the end when he was like, fucking magic tears my ass. I don't know. I just enjoyed it. I just remember enjoying it a lot.
that's cool. It's a
And,
good episode.
I mean, it's not a great episode. That's the thing. I feel stupid
No,
putting it
no,
as one of my
never
top
feel
ones, but
stupid.
I enjoyed it. Thank you. You're all very kind.
Can't believe she picked that one.
Oh, what the fuck is wrong with this bitch? At number 4.
Was that the one you were feeling doubtful about?
Yeah, that was the one.
Oh,
that's
okay.
why
That's good.
that's why I
Yeah,
stuck it
yeah,
at
I
the
like
end
it.
because I was kind of I don't know. At number 4, I had to put I Mud.
Because of the dancing?
Yeah, the dancing.
Oh,
isn't
the
it?
dancing.
It was just everything. It was just such an I don't know. I enjoy again, maybe ironically, because again, I don't think it was one of the top 5 best episodes necessarily, but we just had so much fun talking about it, and I thought it was so ridiculous, and I honestly thought it was just kind of a good time. I don't know.
Here's the thing. I mean, I struggled with the idea of maybe... I almost felt like a Mud episode should have been in my top 5.
And
but
I
wasn't
liked
sure.
it better than Mud's Women.
See, I
Oh.
preferred Mud's Women only because I did appreciate the fact that there was this dark side to Mud that they let sort of come out a little bit.
Yeah, it wasn't quite just a straight comedy episode.
Yeah. But I ultimately decided, I mean, I did like them a lot, but I wasn't sure if I was going to add it for the right reason, so I'm glad a Mud got in someone's list.
I'm not, but okay.
Well, and the thing is, too, is I'm a little shaky on that one as well because I kind of, like, honorable mention, right? I also love the Squire of Gothos, which is not on my list.
It's not in your top 5?
No,
Who
no.
are you, Caitlin?
It's
That
because I was
surprises me.
struggling, because I was like, I really want to do the Squire of Gothos, but the thing is, the Squire of Gothos isn't that good, actually.
Only
Like,
Trelane
I
is good.
love Trelane, but then, like, the most dangerous game element at the end, and like it's just not like it's not a satisfying ending, that episode. That's probably why iMud is so great, because you know that he's getting fucking punished by 500 copies of his fucking wife, you know. Like, I just, and again, that's
You know what, that's-
obviously
Hardcore!
sexist and terrible,
That's-
but kind of hilarious.
That's fair,
That's
and I
good
think you
reasoning.
shouldn't doubt a goddamn thing about your list because you resisted lust.
I know. I did.
I can't wait
know.
to see what you do with him in your fanfic, Chris.
I don't know what you're gonna think, but we'll see.
No.
You better not kill him.
Oh God, no!
Okay, we're
Am
good.
I
Your torture mode.
pegging him?
Whip him a little. Give him a
Yeah, a
spanking.
little whipping. He needs. He's been a very bad boy. Ames knows.
So what's your number 2?
Number 3.
3.
Let's not get ahead of ourselves. Number 3, I put the empath.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Because I loved Jem. I just really
Jem was
loved
sweet.
Jem. I thought she was wonderful.
Oh boy, I got tortured a little. Why am I suddenly into torture all of a sudden?
I don't know.
That's
It's
special.
from watching the show. There's lots of weird BDSM shit in this show.
This
I'm
is
telling
true.
you.
Damn it, Kirk.
The fisting joint down the street.
Oh man, you want to get yourself a little BDSM fix? Read the James Bond novels.
No, thank you.
Because like, all that he winds up sort of captured and whatever in the movies, they eventually, they found a bunch of Ian Fleming's letters, and it turns out he was into a bit of light bondage and whipping. And knowing that, a lot of the capture and torture scenes that are in the books that never quite make it into the movie, suddenly whole new light. Because when he's captured in the books, there's often a bit of light torture involved. And like the only movie that made that into was Casino Royale with the
ball
the
rope.
ball thing. Although in the book it was a carpet beater and not a rope with a knot in the
But
end.
still in the balls.
But a
Oh.
lot of stuff that that like most of the,
There was some candle play, a little breath
there's
play.
stuff you're reading that like if you're not into BDSM, you're just like, ooh, that
Assless chaps.
sounds awful. But then you realize Fleming was probably jerking off to it after he wrote it. Anyway, sorry, keep interrupting you. Go on.
No, it's fine. I usually interrupt everybody, so. Number 2, I think number 2. Number 1 and number 2 are like tied for number 1 because I love them both a lot. But I guess if I had to pick one, I would say number 2 was Wolf in the Fold.
That's a good one.
I love that episode. I love that Piglet gets down with his bad self and kills some hookers. I always thought that little bastard was shifty. I don't know, because it's some quality acting from Scott. And I liked the fact that it was like, how are they going to prove he didn't do it? He, like, obviously did it. Why do they keep leaving Scotty alone with all these women? Like, what are you doing?
Well, I remember years ago, before we even started this project, and I was just showing you the original Star Trek for the first time, that episode, even then, immediately struck a chord with you.
I'm a serial killer, so
That's why you read all these books, Caitlin.
it's true.
Oh, which means I know what your number 1 is. So go
Yes,
on.
that's
I think
true.
we all know it.
Yeah, I think you all knew that, yes. So my number 1 is for the world is hollow, and I have touched the sky, which still definitely sounds like something that Jeff Bridges would have said in Tron Legacy.
Yes.
For sure. But yeah, I just loved the episode. I just
so
thought it
good.
was beautiful. Like, and the worst part is, like, I don't even really remember what it was about now. I really don't. I just remember loving it.
Not touching the giant thing that looks like a button.
Yeah, that's right. That's pretty lame.
Aside from that.
But I just remember loving it so much.
Yeah.
Like, I really enjoyed it at the time. I remember just being like, "Wow, like season 3 is actually pretty good." Like, why? And I especially had thought with a title like that, I was
Yeah.
like, "Oh, this is gonna fucking here we go." And then I was like, "Oh no,
Here we
actually,
go.
it's great, and I am wrong."
No.
So
And what's interesting too is that a lot of when you go out and look for like worst Star Trek episodes, that episode is often on those lists.
it's the worst.
Wait.
As
That
Well,
one?
they're
among-
just fucking wrong,
yeah,
dude.
People call it. A lot of people think it's a turd.
Why?
I don't know.
I don't
get it.
understand
There's
why.
nothing turdy about it.
The costumes are a little weird. I'll give it that.
Yeah,
I think the general criticism is that the pacing is poor in it, but I don't see it.
Lies.
Have they not
Compared
seen
to-
the Savage Curtain?
I was gonna say, compared to every other
Well,
fucking
I don't think
episode of
anyone
this show.
puts the Savage Curtain high on their lists. Either.
I know.
Like,
I'm
let's be
saying,
real
like-
though. There is a nerd out there whose favorite episode is the Savage Curtain.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he's allowed
I
to
mean,
be
you
wrong.
can't criticize
It's
somebody else's
America.
preferences, which is why we'll get to my list.
Uh-huh.
Jake's top 5.
Yeah, I was gonna say the
So,
Savage
So I
Curtain,
should note that
number 1.
this isn't quite in top 5 order because I didn't couldn't really have the time to think to order it. So
There are 5 all tied for first.
I will pretend it's in order. I do want to give out an honorable mention. I wrote it down. I'm not just saying it because it was on Chris's list. It's written down. A piece of the action. It didn't make my top 5, but I did want to call it out as being my top 1 comedy episode of the show.
No tribbles?
No tribbles, no mud, unfortunately. I mean, I like them both, but really, I agree with everything Chris said about Piece of the Action. I mean, it's definitely my favorite of the cultural contamination episodes. Okay, so with that, though, my actual top 5 in rough order. Number 5, The Devil in the Dark. The Horda in the mines with the nodules.
I like the Horda.
I like the Horda.
I like the Horda.
No kill eye.
Number 4, Return to Tomorrow.
Nice.
With our friend Sargon.
That's a good one.
Number 3, What Are Little Girls Made Of?
I love that one. Oh, that one. I wanted to put that in my honorable mention.
That's the robot one, right?
Ruck and the Robots.
Ruck and Andrea.
Ruckin' suckin' robots.
That again, I think would have been a top 10.
Yeah.
But it didn't quite. It actually was very briefly in the top 5, but it ended up knocked out.
That is a good one. I like that one.
Yeah, and that's got Chapel's old fiance.
And the most Chapel ever gets to do in the series as like a person.
Yeah, it's true. She gets a good story in that one. Number 2, this is going to sound a little cliche because it's often top of people's lists, but The City on the Edge of Forever.
I'm glad it made it.
I was just thinking, are we going to get through this without any of us putting that on?
Yeah, no, I love the episode. I love the story.
It's a good one.
It's like one of the few times ever that Star Trek really, for me, gets the time travel story done right.
Yeah.
Like it goes wrong so often.
So often.
And it ends on a kind of on such a sad note, and that's not something a lot of the episodes have.
I mean, they save the future, but they don't save the cheerleader.
Wow.
Yeah.
Heroes reference?
Yeah.
That was a weird Heroes reference.
Wasn't expecting that.
And I feel like, I mean, it's been a while, but I feel like Shatner nails the final scene.
Yeah.
He doesn't overdo it. He
does.
actually, like, acts
Yep.
very well.
Oh, but that's the rice picking accident episode, right?
Yes,
That too.
There is that.
But there's also the drunk that oh my.
This cat is being the worst ass right now.
Oh, you just want to be on the radio, huh?
Anyway,
Jake's number 1.
My number 1,
Ooh.
and I am sorry, Caitlin, is the Enterprise incident.
It is a good episode.
Damn.
I did not.
Bwomp, bwomp, bwomp. He also does.
Good showing for the Enterprise incident.
Yeah, the Enterprise incident, Romulan commander. It was a I knew Balance of Terror or Enterprise incident were going to be on the list, and it was kind of a toss-up which one would go on the list. I didn't want to have both of them on there, so I went with the one that I slightly edged out in my view. I went with the Enterprise incident.
No world is hollow.
Yeah, well, in full disclosure, I did write down The World is Hollow as my number 4.
And I crossed it off after Caitlin said she thought we'd all say it.
But I went back and I wrote Return to Tomorrow on the bottom of the list later, as you see. Return to Tomorrow, it says it there.
I do see it, yeah.
So, and I don't have a pen. I wrote this while I was sitting over there.
We have pencils.
I didn't change
Nothing
my
up
answer.
my sleeve.
I decided to sub in Return to Tomorrow for The World is
So what did we have more overlap on? Worsts or bests? I
feel
think worsts.
I think we had more overlap on worst.
Well,
I
we
feel
certainly
like-
all don't like
Assignment Earth.
Assignment Earth.
We all
I
don't
think
like
we
Side of
all
the
said
Earth.
we didn't like Let That Be Your Last Battlefield, or did you not say that one?
That was not on my list, but I
That's
also don't like it. So
Yeah. So yeah, I think at the end of the day,
Glory.
our likes were slightly more varied.
Yeah.
I'd say.
I figured as much. We have very different likes.
Yeah, and I do like that. You know, and I don't think I tried to go out of my way, but I do appreciate that we didn't wind up with like the same top 5 you see
My
in
top
every.
one was The Trouble with Tribbles.
Oh yeah, no one picked Mirror Mirror.
Guess's Mirror sucks.
Mirror makes it into a lot of top 10s.
It
Mirror-
would have probably been my top 10.
I think Mirror
It was a green for sure.
Was in contention, but then I was like, I think it was kind of like you with Gothos, where it was like, there's moments I like, but overall as an episode, when I actually think about it objectively, it's a bit.
I think it was good. Granted, it didn't even make my top 10. So
Yeah, so I mean, it's like it's not a bad episode, but it's not. At the end of the day, with all of it under our belt, it's like, it's fine. It's, and yeah, there's moments. There's moments that are great, and it is...
Spock with a beard.
Yeah, it should have kept it.
I'm amused that Charlie X made your 6th, Ames.
I fucking love Charlie X.
I know
fucking
you
kidding
do.
Me?
No, I mean, I know you do. It's just so funny because I don't think I made it red, but I dismissed it out of hand as not even being like something I considered really good.
I fucking love
because I mostly
Charlie
just found
X.
Charlie to be a fucking creepazoid.
That's
and
the point.
I know, but I didn't like it.
Perfect.
So
I
what?
didn't like it.
He's the perfect adolescent freak show.
None of
That's
us have Space Seed.
Nope.
Space Seed was one of my top 10 for sure. Like, I considered it. It was another one that was sort
What
of
are
like,
what are some of
maybe-
the other really big ones that we maybe didn't? Because
Well,
Jake just got City on the Edge of Forever in
Journey
for
to
us.
Babel, no one said.
Yeah,
That's a big
that's
no
a
one
good
Journey
one.
to Babeled.
Again, Tribbles. Nobody Tribbles.
No one Tribbled.
But again, like, Tribbles is just kind of goofy. It's not the worst.
Yeah.
But not the best. But it's,
Oh God,
They're better.
are there?
What?
Does anyone have any Klingons anywhere on their lists?
No.
That's what like, I just
I'm listing
because Klingons kind of sucked in this series.
Yeah.
they
Kinda
got
did.
good later.
Yeah.
The Romulans were probably the better TOS villains.
Probably the best Klingon episode, and really only because of the acting, was
Koloth?
Was the Pinwheel episode.
Day of the
Oh,
Dove.
that one, Day of the Dove. I don't know. Well, Caitlin and I know we love Koloth. So.
That's true. You do love Koloth.
It's true.
He's so
Koloth.
good.
And I was like, I know there's one that you guys would have expected me to say I loved that I didn't say. Who Mourns for
Oh, yeah,
Adonais
yeah, yeah.
was on my
With
top.
your
like,
boy.
11.
Your boy Apollo. You know who
Oh,
I want to give an extra shout out to is the Changeling with our good friend Nomad.
good
yeah.
Nomad.
I love Nomad.
I do have not an honorable mention because I still don't know how I feel about it, but it stuck with me. I'll give it that. Plato's Stepchildren.
Oy.
That's
I
like
still
that episode.
don't know if I hated it or loved it.
I liked it.
But it made a very, very strong impression, and for that, it merits a mention. Just
I'm
because
fairly mad on it.
it's like...
It's in my shit list,
a lot of
so-
it was so
Oh,
upsetting
shit.
and so uncomfortable, but that was the point. But I don't know if I like or dislike that. So I just had to say it, because I'm still, all these weeks later, still up in the air about what I think about that episode.
Well, I loved Alexander.
The actor was fantastic.
Yeah.
And I know you didn't like the hecklers. I enjoyed not liking the hecklers.
Oh no, it was brilliant how well they did it, because I wanted to see someone beat the ever-living shit out of them. Like, in a way I don't, like I said in the episode, that I don't normally feel about fictional fucking people. Like, I wanted to see the actors beaten up, even though I know they're just actors and working off a script, but that is how much I hated them.
yeah.
So, I'm still so confused, but it didn't make either list, because I don't... It's a perplexing fucking thing.
Yeah. I also had on my broader list. I had Conscious of the King. I had the Changeling. I had a handful of other ones. I just can't remember them all. But one thing I did notice, I didn't disagree with really any of the shows that you guys had on your top lists. They were all definitely in.
I don't know. Caitlin did pick Elan of Troyes.
Well, yeah, but it can't be perfect.
Oh, you know what other one I like that made my top 10 that no one's brought up is All Our Yesterdays, when Spock and McCoy go back in time and Spock finds that cave chick he likes. I like that
I
one.
liked that one. It wasn't...
It's another season 3 gem.
I don't think it was top 10, but it was still good.
Oh, I really liked it.
Yeah,
For
I
some
like
reason,
that
I really
too.
like time travel done well.
That's fair.
No, you like McCoy and Spock done well. You don't have to lie
Yes.
about it. We all know what it really is about.
Shrug.
Yeah.
Throw that fur on
I
McCoy.
thought that one was all right.
I think season 3 had far more good episodes than I had been led to believe it would.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, everyone made it sound like 3 was just garbage, and I
Yeah, I mean, it has some wicked clunkers.
some total shit.
And, like, don't get me
for
wrong,
sure.
Spock's brain is a bad episode. I just think
really
that
didn't like it.
there are... I don't even know if it would make my top 10 worst, to be honest. Because there's still Shore Leave, which I do still hate. It's still a terrible episode,
But
but...
that didn't make any list.
Well, because just, there was... Like,
It's
I...
in my,
we
it's
were
in my
counting
top
on
10.
you.
It's in my top 10.
Well, 'cause remember, if you go
Your
back
bottom
and
10?
listen...
My bottom 10.
Okay.
My
If
top
you-
of
Oh,
the
I know
bottom.
you hated it.
If
Chris.
we go... I think it was the first episode I truly hated, and I mean, I loathed that episode. And now, in retrospect, it's like, why? I mean, I know why,
Dumb.
but...
It's dumb and
It's
pointless.
dumb, but it's not as offensively dumb as, well, fucking Last Battlefield or Assignment Earth or... Ugh.
Oh, we haven't talked about A Private Little War at all. That one dropped way off.
That one was bad, but yeah, it definitely got shoved off. And,
Which one was that? Was that the one where they were like killing people in like vaporization chambers?
no, that
That
was
is
A Taste of Armageddon.
Armageddon,
I
yeah.
don't know. That was
The Mugatu.
the Mugatu.
And the
Yeah.
with the witch doctor wife.
woman.
And
The
It's
one who
not
sniffed-
very
oh,
good.
sniffed the cat,
Oh,
yes.
yeah, I forgot
That's-
about
that's-
that one.
She is with her tits.
That's probably
Yeah, that's right, she
a
had
top
good- she had
10
good
bad
knockers.
one for me.
Dr. Lazarus never.
That was top 10 bad.
That was
See, I
Such
like
a bad
Lazarus.
episode.
I think Lazarus
I
is
just
kind
don't
of
like
cool.
that. I don't like that episode. I don't like the.
I don't like the
I don't like the gravy
remembering
beard.
the gravy beard, the yak's ass. or
God,
whatever the
hopefully
fuck
it's
he
the
does.
last time we talk about the gravy
I
beard.
hope it isn't.
I'm gonna miss these guys. I'm gonna miss all these guys.
Poor
I know we're not quite done with it, because I'm sure the animated series is more like TOS than not.
Oh, it's gonna be some great shit, I can tell you.
Well, so, here's the thing.
Corbin White. What do you bring?
Corbin
Well,
was
because
good.
here's the thing, the problem, no, it's a terrible episode. Baylock's
White?
fun, but the actual episode is dull as fuck.
Yeah,
It's
Baylock is
really
only in the
boring.
last
Boring.
3 minutes of
Yeah,
the
no,
Very
episode.
boring episode.
So one of the accounts that our Twitter follows is Swear Trick, which just takes little, GIFs from Starfrig and has them using captions. They often utilize the animated series because it just has the extra benefit of looking ridiculous. And it's even funnier when you think cartoon characters are swearing. But at one point, the guy who runs it did actually say, for all that he makes fun of the animation, the writing is actually pretty good on on some of the episodes. And as you saw earlier online, and as I actually saw in the little pop-up video text, it won an Emmy.
Yeah.
And I assume not for the fucking animation, so it had to be for the writing.
Well, I don't know. In the 70s, that was actually pretty good for 70s.
That's true.
Hanna-Barbera.
But yeah, no, that's it for the one that started it all. Farewell to the cardboard sets and the primary colored uniforms. I mean, well, I'm later, but they're never quite as bright as they will be in future.
Contrary to the lyrics of the song, his Star Trek did not go on forever.
That is true. So, please join us for the start of the animated series. For the first episode, we're just doing 2, like we haven't up until now. But after that, we're going to do 3 per, because they're only about 20-odd minutes each.
Well,
so
we'll see, right? I
we
think
may
it's gonna
change it up, but
depend.
right now, that's the plan.
Yeah.
So we might be bombing right through it. But at the very least, next week, definitely 2 episodes. Beyond the Farthest Star and Yesteryear.
Which-
Yesteryear, all my troubles were
Made of
over.
beer.
Made of beer, yes!
Nailed it. Man, I wish we had brushed up on the old opening theme. We could have ended this the way we started it, badly and out of tune
Star
and
Trek all over your face.
So, as always, do please find and like our Facebook page, A Star to Steer Her By. We are on Twitter and Tumblr as SSHB Podcast. Do please subscribe to us on your favorite podcasting app, and if you use iTunes, please consider giving us a rating and review. For A Star to Steer Her By, this has been Chris.
This has been Ames.
This has been Caitlin.
And this is always Jake.
Thank you for listening.
Be sure to tip your yeoman.
Oh, do you have the first 2 episode names
Oh my
for
God.
TAS?
Oh, I don't.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. It's the first episode. We'll just
Yeah.
say. Join us next week for TAS.
Yeah, we're probably gonna make it to the animated series, so
I can look them up quickly if you want
I
to.
was gonna say, we just find them on the phone.
Mr. Mudd's Fuck Factory.
No, that's the hentai that we will not be watching.
Oh my god, we should write
Any
Mr.
good?
Mudd's Fuck Factory.
Is anything Mud does?
Nobody ever goes in, and nobody ever comes out.
I just feel like it'd be like a lot of really poorly animated of Mudd fucking
Jesus.
his robot ladies.
There's an episode called The Jihad.
Oh yeah, there is.
What?
There is. I noticed that the other day.
Uh.
That's gonna be exciting.
What the fuck are we watching?
I don't know.
Holy shit, it won an award!
Yeah, it won an Emmy. Mr. Mudd's Fuck Factory, I picture being like, poorly animated Mudd fucking his poorly animated robot people. But like to that old music they would always use in cartoons when they want an industrial scene. That One point.
That's a steam whistle.
See, now that's gold.